hear any of the outrage about that. It's only when they go to D.C., New York, or, of course, Martha's Vineyard, then all of a sudden this is, you know why? Because we have elites in this country that want to impose policies on you, but they don't want to have to suffer the same consequences that you may have to in your community. What we did, it's sad that it comes to this, but what we did put this issue front and center. I think we need to reinstitute Remain in Mexico, and I think we need to secure the border because the fentanyl is absolutely out of control.
Congressman?
Well, if you want to secure the border, you ought to support policies that actually will secure the border, like comprehensive immigration reform. When you were in Congress, you wouldn't do it because you like having it as an issue for political scoring in points that you want to have for a future campaign. And let me remind the viewers, he wouldn't even answer you if he would stay 4 years if you re-elect him as your governor. You're running for governor. You're asking them to vote for you for governor. At a minimum, you ought to be able to tell them if you get re-elected, you'll serve as governor. Ron?
Governor?
So we had the border that was in much better shape in January of 2021. The Biden administration reversed almost every policy that was in place, and they opened the floodgates. That's why we have the problem. It's not from some phantom piece of legislation. And, you know, I hear Charlie Crist talking about some of this other stuff. You know, he, as a congressman, made $174,000 a year. You know how many days he showed up to work in Washington, D.C. this year? 14 days. Imagine that deal for you. You show up 14 days and you make over 100 grand. That's the type of effort this guy puts into actually doing his job.
I do want to remind both of you that your campaigns agreed that candidates would not ask each other questions. Just wanted to remind you. Drug smuggling is another consequence and an insecure border, and according to the CDC's most recent data, Florida is only second to California in the annual number of overdose deaths. What will you do as governor over the next 4 years to protect Floridians and their families from drugs, addiction, and the crime that comes with it? Governor.
First, let me tell you what we have done. And we've done 500,000 doses of Narcan to first responders, which have saved a lot of lives. We also created a CORE program, Coordinated Opioids Recovery, and basically we're trying to get people who are addicted to have stabilization in their life. We patterned it after a program in Palm Beach. We now have 12 of these addiction stabilization centers around the state of Florida. And then I signed legislation raising the penalties for people who are trafficking fentanyl and fentanyl analogs. If you're trafficking that garbage, that poison, you are killing people in our state, and we are going to treat you like the murderer that you are.
Congressman?
Well, we're talking about enforcing our laws, making sure that we have leaders that understand that these laws are on the books for a good reason. So what you need to do is have somebody as an attorney general. I actually served as Attorney General, the top cop of Florida, and I understood in that role how important it was to enforce our laws, and we did it day in and day out. It's important to make sure that not only with the drug problem we're dealing with, but also all the laws in crime. Crime is up under Governor DeSantis. Crime was down when I was your governor because we enforced the laws and made sure Floridians were safe. That's the kind of leadership that we have to have. It's common sense leadership. Stop the flow of drugs. I already told you we need to secure the border. I support that. He said that I don't, but I do. And I think it's really important that we have common sense applied to all these issues. Enforce the laws, keep our state safe, keep our schools safe. He won't even effectuate a ban on assault weapons to keep our kids safe in school. That's wrong. I think it's right. We ought to do it.
Governor.
Well, this is an important issue because Charlie Crist has endorsed the idea of, quote, reallocating funding away from the police, I guess to give to social workers. But if someone's robbing your house, you don't want a social worker coming up to help you. You need the police. And so that's why all these police groups are endorsing me, and they have said that Charlie Crist's crime policies are very dangerous. He used to be tough on crime 6 political parties ago, but now he's admitted that he has softened up on crime, but we've seen what's happened in all places all across the country. People are moving to Florida because we're a much safer state than the Californias and the New Yorks of the world.
Congressman.
Well, Ron, if that's the case, how come crime is up under your 4 years as our governor? And you think You allege that I want to defund police? As a member of Congress, I voted for another $200 billion to go to law enforcement in our country to fund the police. Once again, he misrepresents the facts. It's a shame that he does it, but we have to get back to basics, folks. This is our state. This is our Florida. We need to have a governor who will bring us together, not divide us like he's doing all night tonight.
That's time, Congressman. Do we have time for one more question? We do. Continuing now on the topic of public safety. Earlier this month, Nicholas Cruz, who confessed to murdering 17 students and staff at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14, 2018, was sentenced to life in prison. You have both said that he should have received the death penalty, but legal scholars and at least one juror blamed Florida law for sparing his life. If elected, will you take action to change existing law? Why or why not? Congressman.
What I would do in this case, listen, these are not easy decisions. I served as governor. I signed death warrants. Governor DeSantis has as well. It's not a fun day, but it's an important thing to do. As I told you earlier, you need to carry out the law. As it applies to this particular case, this is one thing we actually agree on. I believe that that young man should have gotten the death penalty for killing 17 innocent students in our schools. It was absolutely abhorrent, and you have to do what's right, and it's a tough thing sometimes. But whatever it takes to make sure that we can enforce those laws that say there are consequences to your actions, we need to be able to enforce them and get it done right.
Governor.
I think he deserved the ultimate punishment. When you murder in cold blood 17 innocent people, there's no other punishment that meets the gravity of that crime. And to have one juror hold out on that was a travesty. So yes, I'm going to ask the Florida legislature to amend that statute so that one juror doesn't have veto power over appropriate punishment. But I'll tell you this, when that happened, I wasn't governor yet, it was the year before, but I became friends with a lot of the families, people like Andy Pollack, Ryan Petty. No one was being held accountable for anything that was going on there. I came into office my first week, we suspended the sheriff of Broward County for the ineptitude that was displayed. We called a special grand jury, statewide grand jury, to look into the failures of the school district and other school security failures. That report came back. We've instituted great reforms. We've done $750 million for school security, and I was able to suspend 4 school board members that the grand jury had said were derelict in
Governor,
the performance of their duty.
time.
We brought accountability for those families when no one else would.
Congressman, you have the floor, 30 seconds.
Those weren't the only people he removed from office. We have a state attorney in Tampa Bay named Andrew Warren that he of his own volition decided to kick out of office and suspend because he actually spoke about what he felt about an issue. That used to be called freedom of speech in this country. And Governor, I know you went to Harvard Law School, but you need to study the Constitution again. When you start removing people from public office, that's the job of the people. He was twice elected state attorney in Tampa Bay, did a great job, and because he voiced something that disagreed with you, you decided to suspend him? That's not good leadership.
Congressman, Governor, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, look, I think that this is a very important issue for our country. Prosecutors aren't above the law. They don't have the right to veto duly enacted statutes. I know Charlie Crist supports prosecutors like L.A. and Manhattan that are basically ignoring the law, and crime is spiking in those areas. I disagree with that. I think in Florida you can't be a law unto yourself as a prosecutor. Duly enacted statutes must be enforced, and we will be much safer as a result of that. So I acted appropriately, and I would do it again.
Thank you. That is all the time we have for questions at this time. Gentlemen, you each have 1 minute for a closing statement. The coin toss determined that the governor will go last, so please begin, Congressman.
I want to thank Floridians for watching tonight. I love Florida. I love her with all my heart. I want to unite her. I want to bring this state back together and not have a divider as a governor. I want women to have the right to choose and make their own decisions about your body, especially in cases of rape or incest. I want to make Florida more affordable again. When I was governor, I lowered your property insurance. When I was governor, I lowered your property taxes. When I was governor, I made sure that we had an affordable economy, even in a recession. He's raised all these things. He's also raised your taxes. He won't even tell you if he'll serve 4 years if you reelect him. I mean, come on. You deserve better than that. Florida deserves better than that. Thank you very much.
Governor. Governor, you have your closing statement now, 60 seconds.
Well, thank you. We have accomplished an awful lot over these 4 years. We have the largest budget surplus in history. We have a 2.5% unemployment, second lowest on record, and we just delivered the biggest tax relief in the history of the state. We've expanded school choice. We've protected parents' rights, and we've done the largest increase in teacher pay in Florida history. And even though it had years of neglect, we made historic restoration for our Everglades and improvements to our water quality, because water is the foundation of not just our economy, but our way of life. And then when a once-in-a-century pandemic hit, I led based on facts, not based on fear. I lifted you up while some like Charlie Crist wanted to lock you down. I took a lot of flack in the process, but through it all, I was always more concerned about protecting your job than I was about saving my own. I took the arrows so you wouldn't have to. We will continue to fight the good fight. We will continue to run the race. We will continue to keep the faith. We've accomplished an awful lot, but we've only begun to fight. God bless you, and I ask for your vote on November 8th.